Greetings and salutations, fans and family, friends and neighbors, lovers and losers of all kinds. I'm Admiral Oliver Franklin Doom, and I would like to welcome you to Just an Observation. Today's observation, we are going back to the Wild West. This series, called Frontier Gentlemen, starring John Dehner, was CBS's attempt to even put more westerns on their network, in addition to the fact that they had Gunsmoke running at the time. Now, this series only lasted from February 2nd to November 16th, 1958, and it was an afternoon series, then moved to the evenings in March of that year. Now, this series was very good, very well written, and it was sequential in the way that it was done. The music for this series was done by Wilbur Hatch and Jerry Goldsmith. Now, Jerry Goldsmith provided the trumpet opening for this series, and they went on to perform and produce more music for movies, radios, and televisions than a lot of people ever did.
Frontier Gentlemen. Herewith an Englishman's account of life and death in the West. As a reporter for the London Times, he writes his colorful and unusual stories. But as a man with a gun, he lives and becomes a part of the violent years in the new territories.
The focus episode that I have chosen today has some historic value, even though it may be a fictional account of what actually happened. It is called Aces and Eights, and tells a small background story and focuses on the death of Wild Bill Hickok in Deadwood.
In a card game, aces and eights are known throughout the West as a dead man's hand. There's a good reason for it, and this is the story of how the hand got its name. I had gone into the store of an outfitter named Judd Scott in order to purchase a new pair of boots. His was a thriving place of business in Deadwood, and I had to wait a good half an hour before Mr. Scott was able to attend to my needs. He was an affable, if somewhat talkative gentleman, and his boots were first-rate.
So you're a newspaper correspondent, huh? We've had 'em come through, but none from England. Must be pretty interesting, your line of work.
Yes, it is, quite.
Guess the folks back there get a lot of pleasure reading about things hereabouts.
You mean in Deadwood? Yes, I imagine it's interesting reading. At least I hope it is.
Heck a long time for a man to run out of things to write about. You met Wild Bill Hickok yet?
Hickok? No.
Well, now, that surprises me. You heard of him, ain't you?
Well, I think so.
Oh, there's talk that folks around's wanting to put him up for marshal in Deadwood.
Really?
Fact. Ask Jack McCall, he knows. He told me.
Well, where would I be likely to find him?
Hickok ain't seen for a while. McCall, he's generally down to Carl Mann's saloon.
What kind of story you writing about in Deadwood?
Wild Bill Hickok. Do you know him?
Why don't you ask her?
Hmm?
Over at the bar. Calamity Jane. She figures she knows him better than most.
Well, thank you, I will. Perhaps I can buy you a drink after?
Sure, suit yourself. I ain't going nowhere.
Miss Jane?
You talking to me? The name's Calamity. Ain't no miss on it. Calamity Jane.
I'm sorry. I'm J.B. Kendall. A gentleman over there mentioned that you were a good friend of Wild Bill Hickok.
Who? That ain't no gentleman. That's a stinking pig by the name of Jack McCall. You been sitting with him. Don't foul up the air around me. Hit the trail, mister.
Well, I was hoping you could introduce me to Mr. Hickok.
Hey, you English?
Yes.
Thought so. Knew an English feller down in Abilene. Wouldn't quit riding herd on me. Had to shoot him.
Oh.
New in town, ain't you?
Just arrived.
You ain't friend of McCall?
Oh, no, I only met him a few minutes ago.
What brings you?
Well, I'm a writer. Newspaper articles for the London Times.
You want to know about Hickok, huh? Guess you heard about me and Wild Bill, huh?
Oh, yes.
Fastest man with a gun you'll ever see. I ain't too bad myself, but I ain't nothing to Wild Bill. Come on over to the table. Bring the bottle, and I'll tell you about me and Wild Bill.
But I see it's mostly listening. Ain't nobody gets to talk much around her.
McCall! You want me to put your eyeballs out with this bottle you open that barn door of yours just once more.
Kendall, you come on down to the Boot Hill Saloon when you're through. I'll tell you the truth about that female polecat. Now,
One of these days, me or Wild Bill's gonna pump that coyote full of lead. Except he ain't worth wasting a ball on. He ain't no good. His pals is worse. You ever run into Tim Brady or Johnny Varnes? You watch your step, mister. Them's two of the boys, along with McCall, that Wild Bill's gonna run out of this town when he gets to be marshal.
Where's Wild Bill now?
Up in the hills, working his claim. Him and his partner, Colorado Charlie. They ought to be back by tomorrow. He'd like to meet you, mister. Wild Bill always had a liking for you newspaper fellas. Oh, now, what's your hurry? Sit down. We'll split another bottle.
Oh, thank you. I think I'd better get settled. Wash some of this Dakota dust off me.
What a dude. All right, go on up to the hotel. Tell them Calamity Jane sent you, and if they don't give you the best room, I'll shoot up the place.
The next night, Calamity Jane introduced me to Wild Bill Hickok. He looked older, more tired than I had imagined him. As we sat in his room, I noticed that he blinked his eyes, rubbed them, and seemed quite nervous, constantly glanced toward the door. Calamity had gone out to buy some food.
Me and Colorado Charlie, we had a rough week up in the hills. Kind of feels good to get back. You ever done any mining, Kendall?
Oh, very little.
Well, the best way is to get somebody else to do the work for you. Well, what do you think of Deadwood? Not much like London, I'll bet.
No, it isn't.
Yeah. Do a little cleaning up like I did in Hayes City, Abilene. We'll have a right nice little town.
When do you expect to begin as marshal?
Any day now. The boys are getting things moving.
I saw a man yesterday, Tim Brady.
Brady?
He asked me to give you a message. Best thing for Hickok to do is to get out of Deadwood and stay out.
That's what he said, huh?
Yeah.
You know why? They're afraid of me. They know what's going to happen after I get sworn in. I run them out. If they don't run, we have a showdown. Brady and his pal Varnes. They ain't got stomach for that.
I gather they're the somewhat unsavory element in Deadwood.
Mister, you ain't just milking fish. Them miners up in those hills, they'd be dead ducks for Brady and his gang, wasn't for me. This is the worst mining camp in the territory. Ain't been no law here since it started. Brady don't want none. That's how come the miners want me for marshal. Protection.
I'm surprised he hasn't tried to get rid of you before this.
That jayhawker knows what had happened to him in a shoot-up. He ain't likely to try nothing. Fella like that gets somebody else. Charlie, you staying around?
Yeah, I thought maybe we'd get down to Carl's later and play some cards.
All right. I'll be right back.
Sure. Got a lot on his mind, has Wild Bill. He ain't usually like this.
He seems to have trouble with his eyes.
Oh, you noticed it.
Yes.
I wouldn't want you to say nothing in front of Bill. He's been scared he's going blind. Things sure don't seem like the old days. Oh, I gotta get these boots off. My feet's killing me.
How old is he?
But Wild Bill? Let me see. 39. Of course, to hear him talk, you'd think he's closer to 60.
It was 8 o'clock when we arrived at Carl Mann's saloon and sat down at the card table.
Charlie, I'll change seats with me. I ain't sitting with my back to the door.
Oh, Wild Bill, you're getting worse than an old woman.
May so, but that's the way it is. I like to see what's coming in.
Well, here, take my place if you like.
No, sir. All he wants is a catbird seat. That's how come he's always winning. You ain't moving, Bill.
You got the right idea, Charlie. Wild Bill, you got your seat, and that's the way it's going to be. Carl, bring us a bottle of whiskey and a deck of cards. Marshal Hickok's going to be the big loser tonight.
It was a friendly game, and we could see Hickok beginning to relax. He was a good player and held more than his share of winning hands. But while the game went on, there was something happening down the street in the Boot Hill Saloon. We didn't know it then, but after it was too late, we heard what had taken place. 3 men sat in a back room, one of them drinking heavily. This was Jack McCall. The other 2 were Tim Brady and Johnny Varnes. the leaders of the toughs in Deadwood.
I'm telling you, Jack, you'll be a big man.
Why, sure. They'll look at you when you walk down the street. You know, they'll say, there goes Jack McCall.
Yeah, sure.
Why, he killed Wild Bill Hickok.
Now, you hear what Johnny says?
Yeah. Give me another drink, boy, huh?
Why, sure.
You know-
Here, my drink.
He's in Carl's place right now.
I tell you, I'll make this just a little rough on you. $2.
All right? I call.
Not me. I ain't dropping dead, neither.
I'll see you.
I'm a sucker. All right. What have you got, Wild Bill?
Prettiest two pair you ever seen. Aces and eights.
Wild Bill Hickok slumped forward on the table. He still had the winning smile on his face, and the cards crumpled in his tightening fist. It was Calamity Jane who found Jack McCall. He was hiding in a butcher shop nearby. Colorado Charlie and I dragged him away before she had a chance to use the meat cleaver she was holding. We found 6 cartridges in McCall's gun. The only one to fire was the first, the one that killed Hickok. The other 5 were defective. Before I left Deadwood, McCall was tried for murder. But Brady and Barnes must have chosen the jury themselves, because the final verdict was not guilty.
Frontier Gentleman was written, produced, and directed by Anthony Ellis and stars John Dehner as J.B. Kendall. Featured in the cast were Lawrence Dobkin, Virginia Gregg, Jack Moyles, Jack Crucian, Stacey Harris, and Vic Perrin.
And that was a quick look at Frontier Gentleman. Now I will be posting the follow-up with the complete episode probably tomorrow in relation to this episode. I want to thank you for watching Just an Observation, and I am your host, Admiral Oliver Franklin Doom, hoping that all of you will remember undeniable rule of life number 129. Always live life as if awesome and incredible are a downgrade. Thank you very much.